Theodore Roosevelt probably wasn't thinking of the NCAA March Madness tournament when he gave his famous Man in the Arena speech, but it's super relevant to the latest developments in the world of high-octane college athletics. Who gets the credit, the ones playing, or the fans, administration, and everything around them to make it happen? It's a question that's been unquestioned recently in a landmark decision for the NCAA. The decision allows students to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. Put another way, the folks in the arena are finally getting paid. Here's the backstory. This summer, college athletes across the US were finally allowed to make money off of what's known as their name, image, and likeness, or NIL for short. For example, here's my name, this is my image, and here is my likeness. This decision paved the way for athletes with big social media followings or name recognition to sign endorsement deals, license their personal brands, or make money off their fame in some other way.
We got to talk to UNC's star basketball player Armando Bacot about how he's feeling about the NIL.
I mean, it has allowed me to interact with different brands, national brands like Brew, and just a lot of different other great brands that you would have not had the opportunity to do just as a collegiate athlete. So just being able to do that, it's been great, but also just giving me opportunities personally to give back to my community.
So how did we get here? Walter Byers, the first executive director of the NCAA, coined the term student athlete in the 1950s so his organization could avoid workmen's compensation claims on insurance for injured football players. The idea was that the NCAA could save money if students who were hurt during sports couldn't file insurance claims against the company they worked for. Even in 1955, a widow tried to file for workmen's compensation death benefits after her husband passed away due to injuries he got playing college football, but she was denied because he was technically a student athlete at the time. From that point on, the NCAA used the student athlete title to prevent college athletes from making money off of their popularity. The NCAA would say that what makes college sports so magical is the fact that athletes are amateurs, so it's been super strict around allowing them to make money in any form. But if you've seen any NCAA highlight, these guys don't look like amateurs. Amateur is me showing up to pick up with a deflated basketball and tearing my ACL while stretching. It's not a breakaway windmill. So obviously, as time went on, this philosophy created some problems. Like, before the new NIL laws went into effect this summer, a student playing in the Quiz Bowl could sign an endorsement deal. Meanwhile, a student playing in the Rose Bowl couldn't. And in college sports video games like EA's NCAA football, players' names weren't allowed to be displayed. You'd score a touchdown with USC's running back number 5 instead of Reggie Bush. And if you think this sounds a little unfair, let's look at the industry that college athletics has become. In 2010, the NCAA signed a 14-year TV rights deal for March Madness that's worth $10.8 billion. The players see none of that. Meanwhile, some head football coaches are the highest paid public employees in their state, and at least 40% of athletic directors in the Power 5 conferences were awarded at least $1 million in compensation last year. And why? Is it because they're the best at what they do? Sure, maybe they are. But what they do also happens to attract millions of people who want to be entertained, and the only ones who weren't getting paid in that process were the actual entertainers.
We spoke to Daniel Hennis, co-founder and CEO of Engage, who works with college athletes who are now getting to benefit from the NIL.
Like, look, you know, the NCAA and all that stuff for so long restricted just like free market earning power. I mean, college sports were the only thing where if I got a music scholarship, I could go perform shows and make money. If I got a coding scholarship, I could go make money working for Apple. But for some reason, if you get an athletic scholarship, you can't make money off of your athletic ability, even though the school makes millions.
Believing this isn't a fair way to distribute the spoils of college athletics, advocates have pushed for change, and change has come. Prior to this summer, 25 states passed NIL bills that challenged the NCAA's rules banning student athletes from monetizing their popularity. Facing pressure to act, the NCAA allowed college athletes to do just that beginning July 1st. The same month, those bills would have gone into effect in 13 states. So a few months in, how is the NIL industry doing?
Well, this weekend I was with one of my friends, Cole Anthony, and we was just talking about like the whole NIL, and he was just asking me how it went. And then we was saying, like, imagine like when he was in college, like the amount of opportunities he could have got. Like, I mean, it's just crazy to think, because I mean, he had like 600,000 followers coming into college. So it's just crazy to like look back and see like a lot of the opportunities a lot of guys could have had beforehand. I mean, like Tim Tebow, Zion Williamson, people like that who were like big names and icons in college. It's just crazy to think that they missed out on that opportunity.
Well, to quote one sports marketing executive, it's pretty much a free-for-all. The first few months of NIL have been like the Wild West as players, marketing agencies, and brands try to adjust to this new landscape.
Basically, once these NIL rules passed, you have really experienced agents who we work with a lot, who really know what they're doing, who are coming to ask for us for guidance, on specific NIL things. But then you have all of these people who have no experience, who've never done this, who've never represented an athlete, who've never done a deal, deciding that this is like a gold rush and they want to be NIL marketing agents, and they try to lock these kids into exclusive deals. They try to take, obscene commissions.
Here are some of the things that we've learned. 1. Football is dominating. 60% of total NIL compensation has gone to football through August 31st. As the sport with the largest fan base, the biggest TV audience, and the brightest stars, that's not exactly a surprise. Alabama quarterback Bryce Young was awarded $1 million in endorsement deals before even starting a single game. 2. Athletes in other sports are cashing in. Second on this list is women's volleyball, which has earned 9.8% of total NIL money, followed by men's basketball and women's basketball. And the athlete predicted to make the most money from NIL competes in none of those sports. She's a gymnast. LSU's Olivia Doon is the most followed student athlete on social media, with more than 5.7 million followers on TikTok and Instagram combined. She recently signed her first exclusive brand deal with activewear company Vuori. It's reportedly in the mid-six figures range. 3. Most players aren't making that much money.
And everyone talks about coaching salaries. Well, very few guys make crazy money. Very few guys. At the majority, there's 354 Division I men's basketball programs. Probably 250 of them make normal money, for lack of better words. And so that's my fear. My fear is that what we know as college athletics is going to change.
Average NIL compensation for a D1 athlete through August 31st was $497.81. This shows that the industry is super top-heavy. Social media stars like Livy Doon may sign six-figure contracts, but the vast majority of student athletes are making money that's more fit for weekend beer runs than startup investments.
Kids at these big-time schools and big-time players, not all of them come from such a wealthy background, and a lot of those guys come from middle-class or lower-income families. So just having the opportunity to do it a year, 2, 3 years earlier to provide for your family, it's huge, and it kind of relieves a lot of the stress, off your parents and you as a player too, and not so much worried about, I got to make this much money, I got to get to the next level, but you can actually kind of, focus more on just developing and doing whichever is best for you versus, your whole family.
So essentially, these kids are working college jobs. Yeah, there are some people who are cashing out, but for the majority of students, they're finding their way to get paid in college just like any other student would, except it's through the sport they play. But importantly, the thing to remember about NIL is that we are in the very early stages of this. This industry is literally 4 months old, and things could drastically change as athletes learn how best to leverage their fame and brands learn how best to leverage athletes to leverage their fame. There's a lot of leveraging going on. There's gonna be a lot of leveraging.
First and foremost, the job of any agent or advisor, and that's really what I call myself, as more of an advisor, is to keep everyone compliant. Because no sponsorship deal is worth losing your eligibility and worth losing the ability to play your sport. So I think there are absolutely potential issues for people who aren't careful of breaking those NIL rules, because it's not like you can do every single deal.
So there's a lot we don't know, including how big this industry is going to be. Early estimates put it at $1 billion a year, but because it's so young, there are no growth projections, no understanding of how many companies are in this space, and a lot of confusing patchwork of laws that differ at the state and university levels. What we do know is that college athletics will never be the same. Hey man, so the name is fine and the image is good, but could we change the likeness part? We can't change the likeness part? I don't, that's not the best representation of me. We can't change that? Okay, who do I have to call? Hey, thanks so much for watching that episode of Brew Breakdown. If you like that video, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, and also hit that little bell beneath this video so you can get notified every time we drop a new video here at Morning Brew. Thanks again.